Okay everyone, this is on the Canon GP 4600S and I am using my handheld cell phone so I can show you this. So I'm going to show you how to clean the print head area. Okay, so I've prepped the print already. I have the print head out of its locked carriage area. Okay, want to be very careful whenever this is out. Make sure you don't, push it left to right too hard. If you're going to move it, just make sure you move it real slow. Try to lift up on it a little bit. You'll see that it does have a little bit of movement, but you just want to gently handle that when you're handling it manually. Okay, now a couple of tools that we use around here at FotoZoomer is we'll get these cotton swabs like this. Okay, these are various sizes, and the reason why I like this is because it gives me different thicknesses of the cotton head, so I can then clean the area. And the area we're going to focus on today is going to be right back here where the print head rests. So I've got a little spotlight on here, so basically we can see up in here, but you can kind of see how much ink is gathered in this troughs. And that's basically what gets caught on the bottom of the print head when it comes across as well, and can leave black spots on the actual material. So you can see there's some material in there. There's a roll of media in there. But to give you an idea, that printer head sits right back over here, and here's a wiper blade, and you can see all the ink on there. So you want to be very careful, but you want to make sure that this area is cleaned periodically to avoid that ink buildup like you see right there on that blade right there. And you must be extremely careful when handling back in this area. So I'm going to pause the video real quick and get the cotton swab, and I'll be right back. All right, so here's the downside to this is that I'm left-handed, so if it doesn't look like it's in order there, it's because I'm doing it with my right hand. But you want to take this cotton swab and you want to dig it down in this trough here, and you want to clean all that excess ink that can get up on the top and the bottom. But as you can see, how much ink is on that swab, okay? And you're just going to take that swab, dig it right down in here, and just kind of wipe it until you get all the ink, okay? The key thing is this thing has to be spotless down in here. Again, the ink will build up over time, okay, in all those troughs, and they're here. This is where the edge of the paper comes out right here. But you're going to need quite a few cotton swabs in order to clean all that ink out. And you want to clean it out of this trough as well. So again, you just take it, wipe it back and forth, turning it in the meantime. This is where the ink goes down into your maintenance tank and fills your maintenance tank. But you basically need to make sure that this is clean. Now, I also will take an alcohol swab when I get all this excess ink off like this and dry that out so it makes sure it's good and dry. Okay, so here's another thing. When you're going to clean this, as you can see, I've got this pretty well cleaned out. I need to do a little bit more cleaning here. A couple of things you want to keep in mind are the tools that you use. And a lot of people sit there and go, oh, I've got just simple things to use. And so I use rubbing alcohol. And what a lot of people make the mistake of doing is they'll use a nice little paper towel like that. The problem with that paper towel is all the fibers that come off the paper towel. So there's a very inexpensive way of cleaning this. There are some lint-free cleaning cloths, but if you want lint-free, you probably have some of this back in your break room and all that, but you simply just need some normal coffee filters, okay? Coffee filters are going to not leave any of that lint behind. It's going to give you a nice cleaning surface. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some rubbing alcohol on this, and I'm going to show you how I clean that trough to get it spotless like this and all dried out with no ink. And I'll finish this one up here, and I'll show you what it looks like, because you can see the ink still here, and I want to make sure that I'm cleaning all these out. But you'll notice I did this one already with the coffee filter, and down inside you can see how nice and dry it is. No lint in there, and that's the critical aspect. Great thing about rubbing alcohol is it will evaporate. So again, as I go in there to clean the trough out, okay, I can just rub back and forth, okay, get that ink out of there, wipe off the top layer of this. I want to try to avoid getting it back here on these rollers or getting it anywhere else, but you'll see how fast that is. It pulls the rest of the ink out, but you can also see now how clean that area is. No more inks. There's some on the back here. I'm trying to do this with the light and the camera and this myself, just to kind of show you, okay? But you want to clean this whole area right up in here, okay? Again, you want to make sure that you're cleaning any ink that's left on here. So there's some ink there. I want to get that all cleaned up, but you'll notice there's zero lint left behind. There's no lint on this dark gray material right here. There's no lint at all. So you can see that. There's my little spotlight. Look how nice and neat that looks up in here. Okay. So I get all that ink off. Now that means that print head can't come across and catch anything, because there's no ink there. Look at how nice and clean and dry this is. This is how it arrives from the factory, nice and clean. It has to be that way. Now we're going to get right back up in here. I'm going to try to see if I can get this light set up in here where you can see back here this wiper blade, as well as where the print head rests when it's not being used. So give me just a second to get that set up. Okay, so I think I've got the light set up. You see all this cotton, you want to be careful with that. Make sure you don't leave that in there. So what you want to do is you want to take and just basically wipe around here. What you're going to notice when you're wiping on this, you see that little bit of rubber move right there. You're going to see ink come off. If you roll that across this pad here, it's going to bring all the ink of it off. This is what absorbs the ink when the print head sits on. And what happens after a while is it just gets saturated with ink. And that ends up getting on the bottom of your print head. So by taking these cotton swabs like this and rolling them across that pad, you don't have to put really any pressure on them. You can just roll them across. You can help get a lot of that ink off of there. Okay, so again, as you saw me wiping that down, okay, you can actually remove these as well. You have to be extremely careful. What I mean by extremely careful is I mean extremely careful, okay? You can actually get them from this end. I just used the end of a cotton swab that I had and removed it. I did put on some gloves because I was handling too much ink. I didn't want to get all over my hands. So you'll see how that pad is versus the next pad over and how soaked it is, okay? So I want you to take a look at that. And all I'm going to do is just remove that pad by picking it up right here on this front edge over here, okay? This little lip right here, allow this is actually a hard piece, but again, you want to be extremely careful. Do not do this if you're not comfortable with it. You can call a Canon technician to come out and do it. You do not want to break any of these component pieces, as it would require a service technician to come out to replace them. Okay, so again, your confidence level must be high if you're going to attempt this type of work or have a service technician come out and do it for you. But by cleaning those off, this is now dry to the touch and it doesn't have any more ink on it. You can see I can rub it with my hand and there's no ink. But again, you can just roll the cotton swab across the top. It will accomplish the same thing. You do not have to remove it. You can also take your alcohol swab and on your coffee filter here like I did and just wipe the rest of the ink off as well. That is the recommended. I don't recommend that you remove these products out of the printer. So as you can see, I'm rolling this pad, okay, because again, you don't want to remove them, but they can be. They can just be, like I said, picked right up. But I can go through quite a few cotton swabs. You can see all this ink that's built up on here, okay? And I'm basically just trying to remove all that excess ink. Okay, get it out of there so it can't rest on the bottom of that print head. Now this does go on down into your maintenance tank and all that, and the excess ink is just, but when that ink is just sitting there, again, it's resting on the print head. So again, I'll go through multiple cotton swabs to get this accomplished. I am using my bigger ones out of my bag of swabs because again, these are multiple size swabs. It just makes it easier for me to get my hands back in here. But you can see how I just soaked up all that and how it's gone. So I'm gonna go to the third one. I'll show you a clean one. Roll on it, and again, you'll see it pulling the ink up. Not as much on this side over here, but you can see how it's just pulling the ink off of that pad that's sitting here, okay? And again, you're just trying to eliminate excess ink resting on that, okay? And then you come over here and just kind of wipe that wiper blade very gently, okay? And I'm gonna come back with a clean swab here in a minute. I'm just trying to make sure I get all the ink off of everything, okay? Again, it's just saturation over time. This is not something you got to do weekly. You can do it every few months or so. Okay, once again, clean cotton swab. I'm just going to wipe this little blade. You see this ink that's coming off of it? Okay, look at that. That's what that print head is wiped down with, okay? So over time, it will build up some ink on it. But you see how gently I am wiping this blade down. You want to be very, very, very careful. It's an easy part to break. And Canon technicians can come out and repair it, but it's a very expensive process, okay? So basically, you look at all that ink where's the cotton head? You see all that ink that I got off of that? Okay, that was simply on that wiper blade right there where it cleans that print head. You'll notice I've gotten all the ink off of the pads here now, so those pads are all dry, okay? And basically, that's how you clean the inside of that print head trough area, okay? Now, one last thing I want to show you. Let me grab my light real quick. Over here on the print head itself, there's my bag of swabs there, okay? You'll notice on this front edge right here, occasionally you may get some ink buildup, okay? Mine's all nice and clean, okay? Looks all nice and clean, everything, but you can get that print head, that ink buildup, okay? And you want to look at both sides. You want to look at this side as well as this side to make sure you don't have any ink on the bottom of this little plastic line right here, okay? And if so, you just take the swabs and clean it. But you look right here at this trough. You see all this ink, okay? All that ink should be down that trough, but you'll notice that it's also on top. Look, I'm going to wipe that right there and show you. It's just right here up on top, okay? You want to clean these troughs just like you're cleaning over here, okay? You want it to be nice and dry and not have any ink. You want all your troughs to look nice and dry like this. Okay, that cleans it off so you don't get black spots and ink and drag marks on your prints. We hope this helps.